Cece will start.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Elizabeth. I'm going to start out by I want to ask you about the categories. Let me pull up my screen real quick. We have been discussing some of the different genres of books, like mystery or Western, sci-fi, stuff like that. And I think Ryan came up with a list of a bunch of different categories, and we were kind of discussing on Slack the difference between categories and genres. So let me share my screen real quick. Excuse the mess, that is my screen. But over here, he found this big long list of categories, which encases like everything from antiques to child labor laws to psychology to everything. So it's a really extensive list. I actually used to be a librarian, and my mom's also a branch manager at a library, and so I picked her brain. So this is what I came up with, and then I asked her, and this was like her actual researched list based on fiction and nonfiction. So essentially, when the onboarding screen comes on, you sign up, and one of the screens asks you to pick your favorite kind of genres. That way we can get better recommendations. So we were wondering how many genres to show the user. We didn't want to overwhelm them with 5,000 genres, or we didn't want to have them just choose between 3. So we wanted to get your input on what you think is a good number to show the user.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a really good question. In general, I think in terms of genres, allowing the user to pick a few that are their favorites and really tailoring the rest of the experience to that is important. But surfacing all these options as a possibility, I think, is important. It could be sorted by the most popular genres, so that the ones that are less popular might be harder to find when you're trying to find them. But if you've set that as a user, then it'll just be front and center. I think a lot of different book related products and stuff, they have subgenres too. So within sci-fi, there's a lot of subgenres, and so that's something to think about, so that you have the big genres, and then you have mini genres within the bigger ones, so that people who really like those types of genres can really hone in on what they love.
Subgenre was something that Cece had mentioned, almost like categories are subgenres. Yeah. But the only thing is that I don't know how we would get a label. I don't know how we would, unless we manually labeled several thousand categories as a team and put them into subgenres. They're 2 completely separate lists. There's not a hierarchy. Does that make sense? So I guess I'm just trying to ask, that's where we're at. How maybe should we approach presenting that to the user?
Yeah, so I think it just right now, I think focusing on these major categories makes sense, and then in the future thinking about how you can expand, or even I know that you all are thinking about tags, maybe you don't even need some genres and tags are the main thing. So I think having general genres is important, but maybe you have other methods of drilling it even further.
Yeah, almost maybe, well, no, I guess what I'm trying to say is, and I just thought of this, it's if, and this is for everyone, these, if people are picking these, I don't even know if I don't even know if there's an action/adventure genre. I guess that would be a first step. It would be to make sure these genres that CC labeled, make sure that there's a corresponding category in our database. And I haven't done that yet, but I just thought of it.
Yeah, I definitely think we should do that. Again, this is just what my mom pulled together. This is how her library is organized. And she does order books for her library to stock the shelves and whatnot. So when she orders the books, she's not only putting in the ISBN or, you know, the title or the author, she's also like searching based on these genres. So she said that, you know, these are, you know, probably the more popular ones. But again, like, I know a library that, my local library, they combined, what is it, mystery and suspense, I think. They classify that as one big whole genre.
Yeah, yeah. I've definitely seen that in like bookstores as well. And so I think in general, like try to simplify, I guess, for the bigger genres. I think that makes sense. Try to validate, like talk to people and like figure out like what actually goes into the action adventure genre. Some of these might just be dated genres as well. I personally don't know. Like it's kind of interesting how satire is a very specific genre here. So like maybe dive into it, try to figure out what's like the most popular. Yeah, it's like it's interesting. Like I didn't know inspirational was one too. But like how's inspirational different from self-help? Like I don't know. So just maybe like go through and like, for example, like I know for a fact that like fantasy, sci-fi, mystery, suspense, those are like really popular. Classic is really popular. Romance is really popular. Like those for me when I look at them, like yes, those are popular. But like, what's the difference between horror and suspense and thriller? I'm not sure. So maybe dive in and like you're saying, like try to like categorize them a little bit deeper, or like maybe hide the ones that aren't as popular just for like this version.
Okay. We can definitely do a little bit of research and kind of condense them down. Okay. Thank you for your insight on that. All right. I will now kick it off with iOS. So these are the low fidelity designs that I created. So I'll walk you through them. The first screen is a launch screen. So we're just going to simply have like an image or like the logo, or, you know, maybe let it animate while the actual app is in the background loading. So it gives the user, you know, something fun to look at while it's, you know, loading for like a quick 1 to 2 second. And then it will fade into the sign up and login screen. You'll have your fields, your button, a little graphic at the bottom. This will be a segmented control, so you can flip back and between both of them. Once you log in, you'll be taken, I think, to the home screen first. So these are a little out of order. I apologize. You'll have an account settings avatar in the top right, little blurb, and then some suggestions based on our data science team, whatever they come up with the data model for that. Then of course, there's a tab bar at the bottom for easy navigation. So when you click on library, it takes you to your personal library collection where you've added your own books to your own custom bookshelves. And this search will allow you to search within this. So if you have like 1,000 books in your own personal collection, you can quickly search for just within these books, not the whole catalog of books. And of course, search allows you to search the whole catalog of books with the book cover image, and just these 3 very simple details. We're not going to make it super fancy. Just title, the author name, and then the like overall rating. And I think we discussed this earlier that we are going to do it based on half stars. So if a book is rated 4.8, we'll probably just round it up to 5 or something like that, because we can't really like fill in the stars partly right now, but hopefully later on we can. When you click on a book, either on the title or on the book cover, it will bring you to a book detail page with a little bit bigger image of the book, little description, those genres that we were talking about. So down here as little tags, some other like information if you want it, if you're really curious about it. And then the ability to, with this add button, to add this to your personal collection. And then,
Awesome. Yeah, I'll go keep going.
Oh, and then when you click the avatar, you're capable of changing your photo and changing your email and password.
Awesome. Yeah. This is looking really great. Just a few notes. Usually for the loading screen, it is really crucial like what photo you pick, or I would maybe try to find an illustration or something, just because
Okay.
it could look dated depending on what the photo is. And
Mhm.
if you do use a photo, make sure it's full bleed. Then on the homepage, I think my question is like, is this the right way to display the recommendations? A lot of times when you look at like recommendations, it's more like the My Library page where there's like different categories and then you're like swiping like this through the recommendations. So just something to consider, and just like consider like what else is going to go on the homepage. Like, is it for like, why is it home? Is it just like exploring? Like, what are you doing here? So just kind of think about that a little bit. And then once you start implementing it, just make sure that everything is more separated out from each other. So on the library page, the different groups are kind of like too close to each other. So just make sure there's enough breathing room between different groups. But other than that, I think like generally structurally, like all this like makes sense. And so just thinking a little bit more about like what else is on the rest of the page. Like for example, like the book page, like are there just going to be like is there going to be a recommendation shelf on the books page at the bottom or something, along with the tag? So like think about all those things, but I think structurally it makes sense.
Perfect, perfect. Yeah, the reason why we set it up this way on the home screen for the recommendations is because we're we're a little bit lazy. It's because doing it this way with like what you would consider like a carousel where you can swipe left to right is a little bit harder to do. So we were just like throwing this in here just for now, just to get something going. And then hopefully maybe later down the line, we can, switch it over to this kind of left, right swipe deal.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, all right. Oh, and we wanted to show you, we have built out the sign up page. So let me do that. So this is what it looks like currently. We took advice and expertise from Lynn. So we have the fonts and the colors in here, the graphic. I can go ahead and type. And Jorge and I were working on this little feature where this eyeball pops up so you can see your password and close it out. And once you get eventually once you get all the fields filled out and validated, this button down here will light up blue.
Awesome.
To let the user know like it's ready to go, you can proceed. And then a little alert pops up and then you can sign in. But that's as far as we got.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds really great. If the pop-up thing is a little bit weird, I wonder if you could just sign them in or just take them to the sign-in page or something, or like something like that. But otherwise, it looks really great.
Okay, so no pop-up alert then.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit strange. So maybe check out like other apps and see what they do when you sign up on mobile. I don't think that's what happens, but I could be wrong.
Okay, that's just an iOS feature, and so we threw it in there. And
okay,
so
yeah.
yeah. All right, we'll take that out. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well that is it for iOS. I'm going to turn it over to someone else.
Hello. Okay, so we have made some changes. Let me share my screen. Okay, so we did design crit, and I got some wonderful advice from my peers, and I also had a one-on-one session with David yesterday. So he had wonderful advice about the user profile page, but this is the home page, the home view. And basically, I can't remember what I presented to you last week, but I think this might be really different. So we have the app art here, and when you click on like the user profile picture, that's when you can go and edit your details. I had originally had it in the user profile page, but that user profile page was just so full of stuff that it was actually David's idea to pop it out, kind of like you do with Google, So here we are still highlighting find your next book. And in this carousel up here, you can see our current book, your previous book, And then these are the books that you would be adding to your want to read collection. So it's like, it's suggesting books that you've already decided that you want to read as your next read. And then we go into the recommendations. I did want to add like a little bit of something here where it says based on your interest in fantasy or because you finished, another book, and then it goes into a carousel. Once you click over here, then the back button will appear. So I hope that is something that users will like. And then, I'm still working on my reading goal progress, this stuff right here. I still have to iterate on that. And because I'm not really sure if that holds enough value for it to be taking up as much real estate as it does. So for the user profile, I discovered that we kind of needed a navigation because you have your Discover page, your home page, and then previously this was like the user profile, and it was like everything else that you needed to do, right? So you needed to edit your interests, you need to edit your collections and see all your collections, you need to edit your profile information. Popping up profile editing to a different area, I had a lot of room to play with this. And I kind of realized that, all you need for a list of your genres is really just the words. I was thinking about doing cool little illustrations in card form, but you know what? It was just too much on the page.
Yeah, I agree. The words are good.
Great, because it's really easy. And then I also reduced the amount of book covers for each collection. I had like 8 or something, and I figured 2 is enough. But that can also be worked around. These buttons are to add new collections, add a genre or interest. One of the things that I need guidance on is this idea of sorting. So when a new user comes to the service, I want there to be 2 collections that are basically there and they stay there. And that would be Up Next or Want to Read, whatever you want to title it, and then all your finished books, right? So in previous projects, I have like a little sort drop-down menu bar where you just resort up like alphabetical or whatever. But I've been considering unlocking these, much like you do with like your phone apps, your tablet apps, and then allowing the user to move them around themselves. And so if you go to, and we'll come back to the book profile page because I really like it, but basically, let's say that you've clicked on a collection and you want to resort it because this book down here, you want to put it up here. You click on the unlock, and then these little sideways hamburgers pop up, and you can move the books around. Have not tested this yet, so I don't know.
Yeah, there seems to be things that it could be a really weird interaction, so I would definitely test it. Drag and drop is a little bit tricky. The lock interaction is also a little bit tricky, so maybe you want to consider like edit or like just being explicit with words or something. The other note I have is like, I don't know unless there's a way for someone to preview the book on this page, I don't know if they're going to want to reorder it.
Really? Okay.
Because if you're just looking at the book cover, I don't think you will learn that much about it.
Okay.
So I'm not sure, like, I think this will visually look cool with all the books next to each other, but I'm kind of curious, like, how likely someone will like want to reorder it on this page, or if they're just looking for inspiration.
That is actually a really good point, because I was wondering about that, because you don't get a lot of information from a book cover. And if we turned all of these into their own cards, right, where we have like, I don't know, like title, author.
Would you rearrange, instead of an unlock button, would you maybe be able to rearrange them by like year published, title, alphabetical, etc.?
Right. I mean, that's the other way of doing it.
Mm-hmm. I would experiment with a few different ways. I think like I would show like a version like this with like title, author, maybe like 2 sentences or something. Another one with just pictures. Kind of like experiment with all those together. I think the lock thing is weird because it feels like I'm like, I need to do something to unlock the like entire collection. Like it's like hidden from me with a paywall or something. I think that's like what I think about. So I would just like think of some other alternatives.
Got it. Okay, that totally makes sense. was a weird idea. So let's go back to the book profile page. This is what I've iterated on pretty heavily because I wanted to distinguish between the public facing information that you can't change and the personal information that you can change. So this over here is the personal information that you can change. And it's pretty standard, right? I had some feedback from users that they wanted to list the book style, so that's why I have it here. Their rating versus the global rating, I wanted to make that really clear that it was your rating. So here's my deal with tags, and I've been talking this over with a few other designers. The way that tags function are basically like collections, right? So like if it's just a grouping. So I don't even know if we need to distinguish between collections and tags, because how are you going to use the tags? Well, you're going to find a grouping that has the exact same tag. So I may need a little bit of guidance here, but basically these are the genres, and I'm not really sure how that will function when you click on it, because then it would just take you to a page where I don't even know all the books that we have that are science fiction would show, and that sounds like a terrible experience. But like say you want to mark all the books that you've read that have strong female leads. Well, you click on that and it takes you to your collection of strong female leads.
No, that makes sense to me. I think it's good to simplify, and I think like multiple books could show up in like different collections, and so I think that makes sense.
Okay, cool. I have been trying to figure out how it might be possible to search with two collections. Like maybe I want a strong female lead that's also an audiobook. But that I feel I don't really have time for. But maybe if I have a bunch of people that I can get some advice from, I can figure it out.
That could just be a feature. Like it doesn't even have to be necessarily on the collections page specifically. It could just be a feature of the search specifically.
Okay. So that is pretty much all that I had. And as far as I've gotten, so next week, I'm going to be starting with kind of high fidelity, adding in those book covers and seeing how they work. I am reluctant to add much color until the book covers get in there, as far as like a primary color. And
yeah,
David
I think the book covers will be a lot.
Yes, they're very a lot. But David was like, I kind of like this charcoal primary color. So we were thinking about just keeping it kind of black and whitish. I don't know if I'm gonna like that, but
that makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, that's it. Did you have any other feedback though?
I don't think so. I like the direction you're going in. I would just like start putting in book covers like soon. So you're gonna start doing that, but I think it'll really change things a lot. And so start doing that, and then like definitely test out those collection pages and those different iterations.
Yeah, so we started playing around with it yesterday, and just with the addition of these, it changes the feel of the entire page.
Yeah, seriously.
So I'm pretty excited about it.
Awesome.
Ryan had to tell a little update about the DS team.
Sure. Let me share my screen with you. So currently, our recommendation model for recommending new books is based on based on a data set that consists of users and their ratings. So we're able to use the features of user ID, book ID, rating, and title and this doesn't even have to do anything, like just, ignore title. These are the only things that it does. It's really, there's not much that goes into our recommendation book model currently. So we've been pulling, and it was because of a lack of a good data set, honestly, the previous like Labs 21. So we've been creating a data set of our own, scraping from the Google Books API, and we've used we'll be altering our recommendation model to include title, authors, publisher, the date, the description, where we can like like word for word. They call it natural language processing, where you're able to evaluate all the words and all these descriptions and like create mathematical predictions based on those words. It's really cool. The page count, categories, there's some thumbnails, obviously. Average rating, whether it's an ebook or not. Some of them have text snippets, which I guess is like a description. The ratings count, like how many people rated it, and the subtitles. So I guess what I'm saying is we're just improving I guess what I'm updating you with is just that we're improving our model.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds really great. Thanks for walking me through that.
Sure thing.
That's all we had to discuss today.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. It's looking really great, and I'm excited to see it all come together.
Thank you.
Thank you.